Hello, everyone. I'm Maryann Patalano. So welcome to the Healing Connection Network and my show, Power, Perception, and You, which is based on the new thought principles found in my second book, The Peephole Effect, Perception is Everything, which is available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. So before I introduce today's guest, I'd like to tell you a little bit about me. I am the District President at the International New Thought Alliance. I'm an author and licensed spiritual practitioner. I will be appearing in the New Thought film called As a Man Thinketh by award-winning indie filmmaker John Miller, in which I have the honor to co-star with Michael Beckwith, Joe Vitale of The Secret, as well as other New Thought ambassadors. So I'm so excited about the film, which will be released in the fall. So that's so exciting. So as an inspirational speaker, I speak at conferences and I deliver workshops and sermons at New Thought centers, such as Centers for Spiritual Living and Unity Centers. And I focus on the spiritual principles that are found in my book and on my blogs and in my articles. So just a shout out to conference folks and the spiritual centers, just send me a note if you'd like to book me. So enough about me. Okay, I want to tell you now about today's guest, Dee Wallace. She is joining us by audio, and I'm going to tell you some more about her, something that you probably did not know. Okay, so we all do know that Dee Wallace is an internationally known actress, 130 films, 4 series, over 200 commercials, and best known as the mother in Steven Spielberg's E.T. She has appeared on every major network and talk show, including Oprah and The Today Show. She earned her teaching credentials from the University of Kansas and has worked as a teacher in the public school system, as well as her own dance and acting studios. Dee expanded her love of teaching and the principles she found empowering for children into daily sessions, a radio show, and 5 books. Her work is based on the principles of accepting responsibility and loving ourselves early in life to create the life we desire. Dee has authored the 5 books on the subject of self-creation, The Conscious Creation, The Big E, Bright Light, Getting Stuff, and Wake Up Now. She conducts a live call internet radio show on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific. And she's just amazing. So welcome, Dee.
So glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy too. Okay, so it's such an honor to have you on my show. And this in and of itself is proof that anything is possible. This is a conscious creation, and I'm concerned. And so I'm just so happy. So Dee, as I was saying, so many of us, we know you for your acting career, and you are just loved throughout the world. And I can only imagine what that feels to feel all that love energy. But I think a lot of people are surprised to know that you are a spiritual warrior of sorts. And your book, I have it here. I love this book so much. It's called Conscious Creation. Hold it here. And I highly recommend this to everybody. It's so great. And in this book, you are so honest and you share so much of yourself and of your journey and of your wisdom. And I want to thank you for that. It's just totally amazing. Thank you, Dee.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And the term conscious creation, Dee, is so powerful. And a lot of people do not know what that means. And they do not realize that they possess the ability to consciously create. Can you talk about that? What conscious creation is and what it means?
Well, we're all creating every day we created ourselves somebody created the opportunity for us to be born, and we were partnerships in that. Every time we have a thought, every time we have a reaction, every time we hold a perception, every time we keep our focus or lose our focus, we are creating. The challenge is to create consciously. so that you're choosing everything that you create and choosing to replace the focus of your energy when you find that there are things that you do not want to create anymore. And of course, the first challenge in conscious creation for all of us is knowing that we have that power of self-creation.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that, because I think what happens is that they, like you said, we're always creating, but we may be creating unconsciously or subconsciously. And so I think part of the creation, the conscious creation is recognizing that, saying, oh my, what am I creating, or I'm responsible for whatever's appearing in my life. And
you have got to accept the responsibility that you create yourself. And most of us don't do that. Most of us don't want to do it. It's too much responsibility. Most of us have been bogged down with a lot of old religious teachings. For example, we're not even worthy to sit at the foot of Christ. Well, Christ never said that. God never said that. Christ and God said, you're me, these things and more will you do also. Get going. We've given you the power of your own creation. And when you accept that and take responsibility for that, then we can come in and partner with you, and together we can create a lot of great stuff. But most of us are going, well, I gave it to the angels, and when are the guides going to show up? And maybe God just doesn't want me to have it. And that's all old, antiquated teachings from a time when man took religion and, in quotes, God, and were in business with the kings and the rulers and the monarchs. And religion was a really good way of holding people down, keeping us in fear, and taking our power away. And it's time now for all of us to wake up now. Wake
up now. I was going to say it. Yeah. Yes.
And go, wow, it's not up to anything outside of me. I've got to ask me first. I've got to direct me first. I've got to be clear in myself first, and then it can be delivered to me.
Yes, exactly. Because all that old dogma and all that was just a control mechanism. And it worked, because lots of people, are not living their lives to the fullest because of that sort of dogma. Right. And then so the true message that you were saying that Jesus had said, that we actually co-create, that true message actually gets lost. It's like, that's not the focus. Why doesn't that get focused on? But you know why, so so that's
I think it's a lot of reasons. It's literally locked in our genetic makeup now. Eons and eons and eons of false teachings. It's sins of the fathers. Nobody taught our parents or our grandparents or our great grandparents, so they just kept passing down the untruths to us. So it comes from society, comes from our teachings. So we're the ones that have to wake up, and we're the ones that really have to accept the power of our responsibility now.
Yes, exactly. Because in truth, we are co-creating. And if we take a good look at what we've created, we'll see that is true. So I think that it becomes clear that when we do look at our lives, that we are creating and co-creating. And this might be a bit of a controversy, but this is proof that we are we are gods, or we are God, or of God. We are emanations of God or spirit or energy source. And but I agree with that. I know that you write about that, and I believe that wholeheartedly. So if we could try to create from that space that I'm not separate from God, I'm actually a part of God. Can you talk about that a little bit and how that plays into it?
Well, yeah, we're made in his image. So if you want to go into science, you see, religion and spirituality and science are all saying the same thing in different words. So if you want to look at it from the scientific point of view, we're all fractals of the creative force that creates everything. And a fractal, from the smallest, think of a ripple in a pond. From the smallest ripple that ripples out and ripples out and ripples out, it's a continuation of the same pattern and the same energy. If we accept that we are God and that is what we do, then it's easy to go, okay, we go, thank you, God, for this beautiful day. Are we thanking ourselves too?
Right. That's exactly right.
Thank you for all the abundance that is in my life. Are we thanking ourselves for that? Because we are the beginning of the creation of that.
Right.
And the more we can give over and own that, the more abundance of any subject in our lives we want takes place.
Right, right. We become conscious and also of our choices. We begin to see that we actually have a choice. We're not a victim. And that's a whole other discussion too about being in victim consciousness, which I think brings me to sort of the next thing I want to talk about, which is you often stress the idea of self-love and sort of the unconditional love of self. And I believe that that is an important component, as discussed, that into avoiding, for instance, like personal catastrophes or negative people and circumstances, this sort of thing, and creating in a positive way is through self-love. Can you talk about the importance of self-love in the conscious creation?
Well, first of all, if you don't love yourself, why are you going to empower yourself? If you don't love yourself, you're going to remain a victim. If you love yourself, there's no way if I love myself, I want to keep playing the victim role in my life. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't go together. So the more you love yourself as the God you are, because no one can think a thought for you, hold a perception that you don't want to hold yourself. Nobody can make you take actions to express a lack of love for yourself unless you choose to do that. So you're the God of your thoughts. You're the God of your actions. You're the God of the perceptions that you hold about the world. And, like Einstein said, there's only one decision we really have to make. Is the world loving or is it hostile? If you love yourself, you are not going to want to think thoughts that torment you. You're not going to want to think thoughts that are judgmental about others, that put others down. You're not going to want to think thoughts that disempower your energy in any way. And that is the definition of self-love, is everything that I do for me today, every thought, every action, every perception, I choose to empower myself with.
Exactly.
And that's how I consciously create my life.
Yes. And I think it's interesting, and the idea that I often say, we can't, and Ernest Holmes has said as well, like we cannot live by a proxy. In other words, nobody can make us feel or control our feelings or our beliefs, right? They can try to influence it or whatever, but it's up to us how we react or how we let that affect us in some way.
Absolutely. And in that choice, is your conscious creation.
There it
So
is.
if I've always reacted out of fear to money, I know that if I'm the creation of myself, I have to be in harmony and love with money if I want to create money. So every thought that I think about money, even though it was modeled to me when I was a little girl, it was taught to me by society, certainly by my family. If I continue to allow myself to think what is not in alignment with what I want, I am not consciously creating.
Exactly, exactly. Just because the family or society says this is the way it is, you don't have to accept that. It's up to you. It's up to you.
Usually you don't want to accept what they taught you.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because nobody taught them. They don't know,
right.
you know.
Right. Like you were saying earlier. Yeah.
They're doing the best they can. They did it out of love. They did it out of protection for us and fear for us. But that's not empowering. They didn't. I guarantee you most of your listeners never heard when they were 4, 5, and 6. That's right, honey. You tell mommy exactly how you feel. That's right. If you don't like your teacher, then, respectfully, you need to speak up and say how you're feeling, right? It's okay if you don't want to share that toy. I understand you want to play with that toy, right? I guarantee you that most of us were never taught that.
Right. We were taught, don't speak up. That's disrespectful. Don't stand up for yourself, or, keep your wants and wishes to yourself, that sort of thing.
And then we wonder why we have no power as adults.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Dee, you write about experiencing, and we've all had this happen to us, okay? The betrayals that, like, in business or in relationships or in friendships or the romantic relationships, this sort of thing. And you do a lot of, you talk a lot about energy and that sort of thing. And that's what we're talking about too at this very same time. And when that stuff happens, the universe is simply responding to the direction of our energy is what you wrote. And you said that, lots of times, our entire life, or the construct of what we believe in, falls out completely. That you use the words falls out, like, completely. And and this is kind of trying to tap into that. We're saying we are gods. We're God essence, this sort of thing. And that shows up for a lot of us as intuition. And what role does intuition and our reactions play when this sort of thing happens, when the bottom just falls out and we're all of a sudden completely betrayed or hurt by somebody or something? What are your thoughts on that, like intuition and reactions?
Well, anytime you're in reaction, you're out of creation. So that's a really easy way to check whether you are in your consciousness and consciously creating, because a reaction is an automatic physical sensation that happens before your brain even registers that you're in reaction. So the more you're aware and the more you can cut down the reactionary time, right? So let's say something happens and I immediately react in fear. Then if I can stop and go, wow, this is what just happened. This is an old message of mine. This doesn't really apply at all to the life I'm living right now or the situation that I'm in. What belief system is behind this? Because I know I don't want this anymore. I want to react this way. I want to believe in the world this way. I want to be in harmony and alignment with what I want, not in reaction to what I don't want, because that will keep creating more of what I don't want.
Right. It holds it in place. And
well,
I often
it
call
not only holds it in place, it keeps creating it.
Right. You just keep creating it. It's almost like we have to resist sort of the knee-jerk reaction, like, like getting all like fearful or angry, even, and all this sort of stuff. And we kind of have to be conscious, like you said, and say, okay, how am I reacting? And the only way to get a different result, right, is to change,
Yep.
your thoughts and your feelings. Otherwise,
yeah, and I want to go back to science a little bit, because it's not as namby-pamby as everybody thinks it is. What you're doing is you are literally, when you do that, you are literally retraining your brain. You are retraining your brain to go, I am not going to go to that thought. I am going to go to this thought. I am going to keep practicing that muscle until these new synapses are in place. And that's literally what you're doing, just like a dancer. If you want to do a strong plie, you have to keep practicing turning your legs out, holding your thighs in place. You have to train your muscles over and over and over and over to automatically go into that perfect plie. You're training your brain to do the same thing. I'm going to choose this reaction. I'm going to choose these thought processes. I'm not going to hold the perceptions that my family held and that was modeled to me, because that's not creating the life that I want to create.
Exactly. And I wanted to touch on, because we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to touch on the role of intuition, because Dee, I have to tell you, like, and I've said this before on the show, and I write about this, but every single time I do not heed my intuition or have the courage to listen to my intuition, especially if it's long term, if it has to do with a business decision or a relationship decision or something like that, I suffer that bottom drops out the way you were explaining in your book in several instances, and so every time I don't listen to it, that happens. So there's something in the having the courage, right, to follow intuition, to not prevent, but just not to create and go down that path. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And it goes back to self-love. If you love yourself enough, you're going to trust yourself. The trick in the pony here is that you have to start doing it to see how accurate it is. And most people doubt themselves so much that they don't even trust themselves to start using and following their intuition, so that they never see the proof of what you and I know automatically now. Yeah. And another way you can say it is drop down into your heart and see what your heart has to say. Yeah. Because we're all, again, taught to go to our head. We are taught to go, well, let me think this out. You will never get the highest information from your mind. Your mind is there to create doubt and questioning.
Yes.
Your heart is there to tell you clearly what you want. And over and over and over, if you ask and then just shut up and try not to figure it out, your heart / intuition / God / all of it's the same thing will give you the highest guidance.
Exactly. It's almost it's a form of like surrendering, just surrendering. Say, I little me or little mind, does not know the answer, but the heart of me, the spirit of me, the God of me, myself as God does know the answer. And once you release the block of trying to find with your little mind, then it floods in. The answers flood in,
You bet. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can ask. That's what they talk about. Ask and you receive.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
Yes, yes.
give me some proof. Give me some answers here, and then I shut up. And the first thing that I hear, it's always right on. But you have to love and trust yourself enough to even go into that process.
Yes. And sometimes it takes courage because we get afraid. We're like, spirit is telling us something, and we're like, with that little mind, yeah, oh yeah, but how's that going to work? How, or I'm afraid, or this sort of thing. And we've just got to go with it. And there's a bit of courage and surrender that goes with that. Because sometimes we are afraid. We're like, oh no, because this is too different for me.
We're afraid because we've been taught if we don't mind manage everything, we're not safe.
Exactly.
And the opposite is true.
The opposite is true.
But again, if I wanted to be an actress, I had to start going out to be an actress. I had to trust myself enough to learn along the way. Those of you I work with a pendulum. I love kinesiology and muscle testing. I had to learn to trust that. Now it's like a no-brainer. Of course I get the highest answer with my pendulum. I never get in the way anymore. I just get out of the way. And let me tell you, it's so much easier to live that way.
Yes.
Without second guessing and doubting yourself and being in fear that you don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
Yes, it's less anxiety and less pressure because...
Yeah, I would tell everybody, just get up in the morning and say, okay, my intention today is to know that I know.
Yes, yes, yes. Amazing.
That's a direction of your energy. I am telling myself, I know. Because if you keep saying, I don't know, that's a direction to your energy.
You'll never know. If you
Every
say that.
time you walk by the mirror and go, oh, my butt's fat, that's a direction to your energy.
Right.
I get it. You want a bigger butt. Okay.
Exactly. You're focusing on that,
Not only focusing on it, you are literally telling your direction where to go.
Right. You're declaring it. The words are out there. And that's
if you're in fear of money, how is money going to come and have a flourishing relationship with you? Exactly. If you think of money or anything you want to create as a divine relationship in your life, as as you would have with a divine other that you want, do you respect it? Do you trust it? Do you depend on it? Do you know it's always going to be there for you? Do you know there's an abundance of love coming from it? If you apply that to any subject in your life, you will easily see where you're falling out. And also, I urge everybody, go back to your childhood. See what messages were taught to you, and also what was modeled to you by watching your parents. Because your brain pretty much has that in and solidified by 6 years old.
Yes, yes. That's why the work with children is so important. And
with your little child inside you.
Yes, yes, yes. And so we're almost out of time. This is just, there's so much. Like I said, I could speak to hours to you. So I just wanted to ask you, what is the number one thing or idea or spiritual truth that you want people to go away with from the show or from your work? What is your message summed up?
You're God, accept that, and love yourself. Love yourself beyond anything else, because when you love yourself that much, you have all that love and cannot work with the world in anything other than love. Love creates everything and is the answer to everything.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I love that message. That's so good. So Dee, I don't want to miss the opportunity for you to just tell people where they can, before we close, where they can connect with you, and just tell them a little bit about that.
My website is I am D Wallace, A lot of free offerings on there, guys, for you to listen to my work. And I have a live call-in show every Sunday at 9 a.m., Conscious Creation. It's on the homepage at IMD Wallace. You can call in, ask the channel guidance about anything that you want. I do monthly webinars around all kinds of subjects that are in the store. And you can find out just about everything about me on my website.
Yes. It's amazing. I love the I am, because we know those are very powerful words. So
that's right. Anytime you say I am, you are directing the God energy of yourself to go there.
Exactly. So powerful. Well, thank you, Dee. And just everyone out there, just for more about me, you can go to my website, MaryannPatalano.com, just check out what I'm doing. But I just wanted to thank Dee. I'm just so honored and just so happy. And I know that your work is such important work right now in these times. And people are going to be blessed by this show and certainly by your books and everything else. I can't even recommend it enough. It's just so amazing. So
thank you. Thank you so much.
You're an awesome woman. And I'm just sending love your way and love to everybody. So thank you. And
thank you. Love back to you, baby.
Yes. Thank you. And so everybody have a great day, and thank you. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.